In 48 hours, I'm demoing my game at one of the largest game stores in my state. But I don't really have a complete game, and I have no minis to play with. I may be doomed. In this game, you'll see me flesh out my rules, create some tokens, components, and minis to play with, and then finally demo it all for you. If you've been a viewer on my channel for any amount of time, you know that I can't accomplish this feat on my own. Thankfully, I have help. Hey Malev.
Oi, Scott.
This is Malev, an indie game developer who's responsible for titles like Pit Lord and Demon Ship and his newest game, Great Helm. Malev, we have 2 days to pull all of this together. What is the game plan?
All right, so I'm not very familiar with volleyball, so we got to do some studying. And once we do some studying, translate that into some mechanics, and then we put it into the physical realm on the table for the people to play, and we can hopefully demo it for people on Saturday.
Okay, sounds good. Let's start out with some research. So we've watched some pro volleyball, and I'm kind of curious, what are the top 3 things you've noticed about the game?
It's very dynamic, very fast. There is almost 2 elements to the game. One being almost like a snapshot, instant score, or this more longer play, rhythmic balance, tension. It's like the big word for me. That the tension of what can happen in a play can be instant, could be drawn out, or can really be a snappy sort of affair. So speed, tension, movement are some of the key things that I'm kind of detecting as we watch.
One thing you also mentioned off camera was about how the game has a lot of peaks and valleys. Like there are huge moments where you don't know the outcome that happened instantaneously, and then it drops back down to a slower paced game. And that all happens in the span of like 5 or 6 seconds.
What I said yesterday was like a crescendo feel. The lows feel just as important as the moments where there's lots of movement and lots of action.
All right, let's see if we can put some of these elements into our game. One of the biggest unsolved mysteries of this game that I needed Malev's help with is the flow of the game. Who gets to do stuff and when they do that stuff. One of the unique things about the sport of volleyball compared to other sports is that when a team has the ball, the opponent can't really interact with them. The ball is theirs until they voluntarily or accidentally send it over. Tackling isn't a thing yet. For game design, what this might look like is one player playing the game while the other person sits around and watches, which is something we definitely want to avoid. We tried to solve this problem by figuring out when movement occurs. Basically, whenever someone interacts with the ball, like passing for instance, both players get to move. First, the player with the ball moves, then their opponent, then the player with the ball moves one last time. This does several things. First, this gives the person who doesn't have the ball an opportunity to do something. Even if it's simple, it keeps them engaged in the game. Secondly, it gets the timescale of volleyball right. Whenever someone moves a player, it's only 1 hex compared to the ball, which is moving around a lot faster. This was Malev's idea to best capture the speed of the game that he noticed when we were watching some professional replays. I like this idea a lot because it means you have to be very tactical with how you use your movement, and you have to really think ahead about where you want to be based on what you're trying to do. But there is a way to get more movement, and that's with ball height. When a ball is higher in the air, players have more time to react to what's going on. So after a pass, for example, depending on how good it is, the player can either determine or randomly determine what the height of the ball is. And if it's high as opposed to low, players have double the amount of movement at their disposal to make choices. But why does the player with the ball get to move twice? This is the third thing this rule is doing. Volleyball is an attacker-favored sport, which creates this really satisfying back and forth feeling. And this is one of the ways that we are trying to give the attacker a little bit of an advantage. And so now we're at midday, day 2. We just lost half of the day to the podcast recording, and now we're kind of trying to catch up to get done by tomorrow at 2 p.m., 24 hours from now. Malev is working on some of the models we're going to use in the demo, and I'm trying to polish off some of these rules. Malev, you brought these figures. What are they, and why did you pick them?
These are the Citizens of Rome kit from War Games Atlantic, and they are a very classic style of plastic kit that just features a body, a chest, a pair of legs. You put on a head and you put on the arms, and that will create your whole figure. And even though this particular kit is designed for a game called Gangs of Rome that does involve fighting, the kit is so straightforward and the sculpts are so easy and simple to work with that modifying these basic bodies to not hold any weapons at all is going to be really easy and just make essentially a person wearing a robe who's running around doing sports, doing athletics.
Okay. They're like a blank canvas miniature that you can do a lot with.
Yes.
Can you describe the process that we're using to paint these figures?
Yes. I call it the contrastial bombastal technique. The whole heart of the contrastial bombastal technique relies on whichever is your main color. Like say you want to paint a red, using a very dark pigmented contrast paint. One of the contrast paints that actually doesn't really do the contrast effect very well. My favorite to use is Cygor Brown. And using the Cygor Brown as not really a contrast paint, but just as a really dark liquid pigment to darken whatever paint that I really want to use. So for example, going back to the red, whatever that red is, like a bold pyro red from Pro Acryl, if I use that red, that's essentially going to be my main tone. Not like my base or my shadow, but the brightest. Like the red is very bright. And so what I'm going to do is have the base red be where I want to end up, and I'm going to introduce the Cygor Brown, darken it way, and that's going to, as if anybody's mixing, you'll see that that red color is going to just get really desaturated, turn into a darker brown tone, really natural looking shadow. And I will start from there, basing up things and add more opaque paint to the contrast, continually adding that red and then adding that red on until I get a really nice, well-controlled volume to a model, using the contrast as like, for example, the Cygor Brown as like the deep shadow and the opaque paint as almost like the highlight or main tone. And then from there, once that's that, you just do a traditional kind of highlight as normal by adding a little bit of white to the red or a little bit of like peach flesh or something to just increase that a little bit. And then that is the heart of the contrastial bombastal technique.
Like Vince said in that last volleyball video, we needed to simplify the primary loop. So we did that. But we also simplified a whole lot more. In the past, my characters had a passing stat, a strength stat, a blocking stat, and all these different things. And now all they have is a skill stat, a stat that tracks how good you are at the game of volleyball. It's easier to add things on top of a game that's designed simple from the ground up as opposed to removing things that may be critical to certain components of the game. So we wanted to start simpler. Serving definitely has a lot of similarities as to what it was before, but now instead of being a scale of 20 to 0, it's a scale of 6 to 0. Serving in the past version of the rules was a lot of little complicated additions and subtractions. Now what it is you just pick a number, 1 through 6, 6 being a hard serve, 1 being a light serve, and that's your target number for the test. As long as you get 1 success, the serve is a success. But the more you fail, the more it's going to scatter and be erratic. Way simpler, but still in keeping with what's going on in actual volleyball. Similar to serving, the target number for passing is also equal to the ball's energy, which makes sense. If it's coming faster, it's harder to hit. And similar to serving, you also only need 1 success to get a pass off, but the more you fail, the crazier the pass is going to be. It's Saturday morning, the morning of the demo, and I'm a little bit nervous, but we have a playable game and models to play with, so big check on that box. I have to be honest, I didn't think we would make it to this point, so I was delaying announcing the playtest to give myself an out, but we painted deep into the night last night and finished up everything, which is awesome. We've been playing the game a lot, and it makes sense to us, it flows correctly, but I think it's important to get some early feedback from someone who hasn't been deep in the trenches. All right, Amber, what was the last miniature war game that you played?
I don't know what it's called, but the one that we played in Philadelphia.
Oh, I was trying to make a joke that you had never played anyone, but you actually have played the...
Token Terrors. That was November, and that was the only time.
This should go well. Okay, now that we've run through one volley of play, what are your immediate thoughts?
I think that if the person playing this doesn't understand volleyball, it might kind of be hard to understand.
Mm.
It's also hard to play when there's no like written rules for me. So you just talking is kind of hard.
So do you think if I had like a fully written rule book, that would be helpful, or just like more information on the things themselves?
I think maybe just like some little tips on a sheet would be helpful.
Oh, like gameplay tips.
Yeah.
Mm.
Like when I serve the ball to you, and I know this, but like when you were explaining it, you didn't really say it. Like your side is going to have 3 turns. Like you didn't say that. It was just like, okay, now it's this, and then it's this, and then it's this. And it's like, okay, when's this going to end? Seems like it's maybe better if you say, okay, when you serve it over, my team now gets 3 hits, and then I'll come back to you.
Okay. Amber's suggestion about having helpful game tips, but also just important information to track on some of the game components was an amazing suggestion, and one that both Malev and I just totally overlooked. Speaking of, for the game components, I have 2 generic sets, some small little clear cubes that are colored, and also some larger D6s that you can draw on with dry erase markers or just use as more random tokens. For more specific components like the court or the power pendulum, name is a work in progress, I just designed that stuff in Photoshop and printed it on paper. It can be kind of a trap to spend a long time designing game components because the rules are constantly changing. And so I'm trying to avoid doing that, even though it's like so much fun to do. It's just not the right time for it. With everything packed up and prepared as much as we can be, it's time to head to the source, comic, and games to playtest. And it was a smashing success. I had a decent little pool of playtesters, and here are some of their thoughts. Okay, Wes, how many times have you played professional indoor volleyball?
0.
Matt, how many times have you played professional indoor volleyball?
A -1.
How did we let you in here? I mean,
don't even know
that
if
was a
I know.
requirement.
I
Okay,
hopped the fence.
Dan, how often have you played professional indoor volleyball?
Indoor volleyball, I grew up playing 5th grade through high school.
Okay, you got some volleyball
Yeah.
chops then.
Yeah.
Okay, well, knowing that, what do you think of the game?
I like it. The only thing with the rules that popped out to me was just the standard volleyball stuff, which is just kind of dictated by the regular rules of volleyball. Like, can't hit to the same person, or you can't bump it or set it to yourself. Because there was a couple of times where I would have absolutely loved to do that.
See, if we were doing drunk
Yeah.
uncle volleyball, there'd be
Yeah.
a player who could do that legally. You know, it's
Oh, I
like a
love that.
rule breaker or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
yeah. What are your initial thoughts?
It's fun. I think it feels very balanced, and also like it doesn't feel like there's any like distinct advantage between sides right now because it's all the same skill level. And like it's much more about positioning and trying to set up and anticipate about what your opponent is doing.
Any thoughts? Any initial feedback?
I really want to like this brush. Initial thoughts. It's coming along.
Okay.
It's turning into a game.
Yeah,
It's
no.
very early days.
Yeah, hit me with all the negative stuff. I can
man.
take it.
The low-high thing is kind of clunky, and it kind of slows down the core gameplay loop in a way that is kind of just annoying.
Okay.
So I would personally ditch that.
Okay.
I know it's a part of volleyball, but I think you can have some other fun things you can do in place of it.
What felt bad? Were there any feedback, anything that could use work?
The one thing we ran into was when you score a point, it's like how do you set up after you serve? I think how we ended up playing it was the attacker would set up their miniatures first, and then the defender would. I don't know if that's right or wrong.
We have no rules for that right now.
I know the skill level is 4 for every.
Every player and model.
Okay, if you have different models with different skill levels, would that break the game? Or would it help it? Because it's like, okay, let's say you have a skill level of 2 up here, and like a skill level of 3, and then a 4. Right? So you have someone who's really good, someone who's kind of good, and someone's like, this is my friend from college. Right? Does that end up making it harder?
I haven't thought of that.
Maybe 2 balls?
Whoa.
Maybe 2?
Okay.
Could be fun. Something that could also be neat is having like a special power for each player that they can use once per game. It's a minis game, right? We don't want a core gameplay loop that's just this the whole time. We got to make it a little interesting.
We need some sauce, right?
You can play this like 2 or 3 times and it'd be fun, but you know, we need some sauce.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Those are my thoughts so far.
Okay, I love it. Thank you so much. Also, what games do you work on?
You can get Sprocket Forge right now. It just hit the shelves.
Okay.
So that is out. It's an engine builder with little gears and stuff. It's a ton of fun.
Okay.
We're also working on a new expansion for our horror board game, our original game, as well as our own miniatures game, which is called Junkernauts. That is a game where you are a bunch of robots, like toasters and refrigerators. They've taken over everything, and you're going around battling each other for territory, like apartment complexes and shit like that. So it's good.
All right, we did our play test. It's the following Sunday, and I'm curious, do you have any takeaways from that experience? Either things we should change or anything about it?
Really, I thought it was honestly really awesome. I think that we smashed it.
Yeah.
I think that for the objective of coming out here and kind of taking the idea of a volleyball game and turning it into a back and forth on a tabletop involving two people, I was actually very happy to see it working. Like I felt like I was kind of watching a little volleyball scrum, and thanks to everybody that came, it was just wonderful to see like fresh minds sort of figure it out in real time and sort of come to the same sort of like conclusions that we're like, yeah, we should do this because it feels like that. Honestly, no notes. Like I'm really excited for this. We did, I think, an amazing core system to kind of iterate from, and now there's lots of interesting ways to go. But yeah, I think it turned out really great. Big thanks to everybody that came through.
That's going to do it for this video, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed watching me take this kind of softer, more amorphous idea of a game and really flesh it out, which is something that I think a lot of us struggle with, myself as well. We have these cool ideas for things. We have some things scratched down on napkins, but nothing is really ever fully fleshed out and playable. So it felt really good to kind of just sit down and force myself to do this with someone who has done it before and has the skills. Speaking of Malev, I got a chance to try out Great Helm and I really enjoyed it. I like how he focuses on kind of the cinematic nature of miniature war games. Each scenario in the game is called a scene that builds toward some awesome, cool kind of narrative outcome. And also, who doesn't like knights, bro? As a Camelot kid, this game is right up my street, so I'm definitely gonna be checking it out and playing it in the future. And you should too. I'll have it linked down below where you can go and find this game, along with links to Malev's other social media so you can get in touch with him. This video has no sponsor because I have been making videos regularly and my views drop off, and with that, the people that pay me to do this. And so I really appreciate people like my patrons in moments like this, and also people who shop on my web store, Miniac.co. So if you want to support content creation for the miniature hobby on the internet, those are two great ways to do it. Both my Patreon, linked down in the description below, and also Miniac.co, my web store, where I have a bunch of cool things like miniatures, tools for the hobby, educational content on how to paint miniatures, merch for the store, the channel, I mean, and just a lot of other things. Check it out, link down below if you have the ability to support and you want to. Subscribe or die! And most importantly, don't forget to...